right? We don't report 40 feet on each one. We report the actual dimension that the building is getting on there. And this information, if you use the dimensions, you don't have to put it in a table, but if you didn't use the dimensions, it should be in a table. A lot of you didn't get the lot-specific zoning table, and you had no way to tell me, when I'm looking at that, what the frontage is. You also didn't tell me what the depth you calculated was. So you need a lot-specific zoning table that has that lot's depth and width, so you can document that you meet the requirements. And I think a couple of us were asking for variances on lot depth. So we should definitely mark them off. All right. That table, lot-specific table, should also include your cover counts, surface cover counts. MAWA is the table you have, it came from there. It's a little bit confusing in that it has building cover, lot cover and improved lot cover. Most towns have building cover and lot cover. And building cover is the building area divided by the lot area, and you report it as a percentage. And in our case, we're not allowed to exceed 15%. You aren't exceeding that. What you gotta watch, though, is the lot cover. But in MAWA, in the table you have, lot cover is actually called improved lot cover. And the building cover is actually called lot cover. So, building cover equals lot cover in table. And it equals building area divided by lot area times 100. Not to confuse you more, improved lot cover equals total impervious divided by lot area times 100. So this is for your lot specific zoning table.
Professor,
Yes.
does the total impervious area include the building and the driveway?
Building and the driveway, yep. And here's the kitchen. Whose impervious area is that?
Towns.
Technically the town's. We don't include this a lot of times in our cover counts. We're only counting the impervious cover within that property. At least for a zoning perspective. Maybe not for stormwater approval. Okay. And remember, these setbacks show the shortest dimension, or the shortest distance from the building corner to the property line. And if we have irregular shaped lots, we need to start those dimensions at the building and go perpendicular to the property line. That's the shortest distance. Up on here, you would be going radial. Bless you.
Thank you.
To there. And again, I'm not gonna do this one, because this is the shortest distance. This is the shortest distance, not that, all right? So, and in this one, you would probably, if it's that close, you may draw them both and report the shortest one as the requirement. All right? Okay. All right, that's the big comments with the maps. Your drainage calculations. Number one, don't copy the hydrographs into Word and print it. You're creating extra work. And you're not giving me the information I need to check your results. Print from hydrographs. And I'll start this up and show you. Oh no, why do I not have a license? Maybe I won't start it up and show you. That's not good. They had to just take my license away, literally today. Let's give it one last hurrah. But when you're in hydrographs, there's a list of your hydrographs, right? Select a hydrograph, go up to the File menu, choose the print option, and you'll be able to create hydrograph prints right there. Print out your existing 3. You can check off your storms. You can check the TC, the time of concentration report. So I can see your calculations for the time of concentration. And they also have a summary in there, and other options for your printing needs. Same thing, then click on your proposed hydrograph, go up to the File menu, print that one out as well. A lot of you in the hydrographs program manually computed your curve number, your weighted C, not curve number, your weighted C value. Please don't do that. Please click the percent sign, this percent button. Do the calculation in there, and then when you print it, I'll see the calculation in that sheet, and I'll be able to tell you if it's correct. Come on, start for me, please. You know you want to. All right, what else do we have in there? When you print, make sure you're printing in minutes, not hours. That's another one. And I mentioned the time of concentration worksheets. Ooh, and someone I think is proposing, just based on their report, vegetated swales in the fronts of lots. This is a regular practice in rural parts of the state. And it is a growing desire for NJDEP to see more grass swales along roads, rather than curbs for the water quality function. But it is not going to fly in an upscale neighborhood. They're not going to want a moat going across their lawn every day, little culvert under the driveway to get the water through there. And there's a number of towns who will, actually, there's one town in North Bergen that does not want open air detention basins. This is like one of the standard ways we get stormwater approved, but they prefer other ones, and that's because there's a lot of lakes in town, and they're just adding new dry lakes. But lots of things going on. Again, towns are allowed to take those state rules and make them stricter to meet their town's needs. All right, so if you had vegetated swales in your report, please find another means of getting water quality. You did get credit for that, full credit for that. And a lot of you guys actually got a lot of credit. Again, the hydrographs, I couldn't check them, right? But I told you if you gave them to me, all 6, you got full credit. So you got full credit. But I want to check your numbers, so resubmit them with your maps next week. Okay, so with our calculations, our airplane is still up there. No, that's still a fire hazard. With our calculations, our proposed condition is there's a paper airplane on top of the way. Our proposed condition is a rational method or a modified rational method calculation. Which one?
Modified.
Modified rational method. And in the proposed conditions, we use that because the modified rational method is comparing 2 storms and determining the volume difference between those storms. It's a simplified process for that. Make sure your proposed hydrographs are modified rational methods. And remember, you need to input the Q target. Q target equals Q allowable. How do I find out Q allowable? Who's working on our hydrology designs here? Who's going to at least go back and look in your notes, because it's in there, or it should be. Q allowable is defined by RSIS, and the stormwater rule. Another tough question for the hydrologist. How many design storms do we have? 3. Right? What are they? 2? 10? 100. You need to compute them. And you need to put that value into the Q target in hydrographs so that it knows the 2 storms that it's trying to compare and come up with a difference between your proposed conditions and what you're allowed to get out of that detention basin. The stormwater rule will tell you to reduce each of these storms by a certain percentage. That's all you do is you take your Q existing and multiply it by the RSI, or actually the stormwater rule, just by, let's just say, the reduction factor. RF equals reduction factor. That's the percentage. Who knows the percentage for a 100-year storm? Get to that code. And when we get to that code, we're going to go to our cheat sheet, and we're going to write down our code that we referenced, what it says, make a little note so we don't have to go look it up again. All right, so then we're going to have, again, Q existing 10 times the reduction factor for the 10-year storm. And Q existing 100 times the reduction factor for the 100-year storm. So, wow, I have no license today. Okay, are we good with this? Okay, your reports. What I was hoping to get is basically your introduction statement for your final report in a few paragraphs. When I write engineering reports, I am direct. Blunt isn't a right word, but I am stating the facts and providing support for it. In an engineering report like this, I told you a few times, this report is documenting my compliance with the regulatory code for the project. That's the purpose of this report. And when I start off this report, I am going to be straight to the point. And I would more than likely start a report like this off with, a subdivision is proposed for lot blank, block blank, located in the township of blank. The site borders blank road or intersects blank road and blank road. The current use of the site is forest and woods with a few patches of lawn. There are wetlands, a stream channel, and a riparian buffer on it. Right? This would, the exact words my report would start that way. Straight, right to the point, forward, all right? And that's just introducing. I may then describe that the topography starts high on the blank end and then rolls down to the blank end into the stream. And that would be a general description of the existing property that we are working with. All right, that's what I was hoping to get there. Later on, as you move into the proposed conditions of that introduction, you're going to be asked to state your scope, right? What is the scope? What's the scope of any construction project?
The work that you'll be doing.
It's the work we're doing, the work that we're proposing. What are we proposing to do here? We're going to build well, actually, we're going to take a lot and subdivide it. We're going to construct a road or road system. We're going to install into that road a
Sewer system. Sewers.
stormwater management system, sanitary sewers, and water service. That's the scope of our project. That's what we're proposing. The residential lots, I told you, would be approved for construction at a later time. The only thing we're really getting approved in this development application are the lot lines, right? The roadway, the street, the storm, water, and sanitary sewers. All right, now, I worked for a number of years in the private end where I was doing all these designs making all these reports and submitting them to Boswell Engineering for review. I am now at Boswell Engineering, reviewing all the plans. So I'm seeing it from both sides. When you're writing your reports, I told you again, you're documenting your compliance with the code. Does it matter if I use AutoCAD or MicroStation to make the maps? No. Does it matter if I use hydrographs or HydroCAD to do the calculations? What's the important part of those calculations? Not really the software, is it? What is it?
Input.
The input, but when you get into that input, what are you choosing? That's one of the first things you choose.
The storm.
Not the storms, but what's across the top? Are you doing a rational, a modified rational, right? An SCS storm? The most important thing is what method of calculation you're using. All right? Any software should be able to compute these numbers. A spreadsheet should be able to compute these numbers. What's important for me to know is that you're using the rational method to compute peak flow in the existing conditions. And you're using the modified rational method to compute peak flow and volume in the proposed conditions. That is the most important part. That gives me something I can check. I could just go to a piece of paper and start doing a CIA, right? Get a scale out, put it on your plan, measure some triangles to get some areas, and I'm off to the races. So even when we get into, we're gonna have 3 major calculations by the end of the semester. You're gonna have this one, the one you just did, for the detention basin sizing. And you're gonna have one for storm sewer capacity. And you're gonna have one for sanitary sewer capacity. We'll also have one more small little one for a single family home. And with that one, it's just like the detention, exactly like the detention basin sizing, except you need to convert your volume from cubic feet to gallons. And then you'll tell me how many dry wells we need for a typical lot. Again, a feasibility plan for the residential portion, we want to be able to show, hey, we've got a pretty comfortable sized home here. We've got a comfortably sized driveway, and we can fit all the dry wells that it would take to mitigate the stormwater on there. That's demonstrating feasibility to the town that, these improvements are proportionate and appropriate for your lot dimensions. And again, you want the town to approve that lot dimension, those sidelines, those rear lines, your bulk zoning. Okay. So let's see if I can find another program on here to use. I doubt it. This does not want to let me in. And I had some wonderful things to show you guys today. Oh wait, I might be able to sign in with another account. All right, let's see if that works. So, how many are going to have new maps for me next week? How many are going to have some new calculations for me next week? Okay. The 3 groups I gave the stuff back to first. You guys got all B+ rates. You can return your maps again, try to get, no one is going to get more than the 50 points. All right? But you can recoup points. I've given you lists of things you're missing on your maps, things that may need to be corrected or improved. And that shouldn't be too tough to get to. But I need to find a way to get a license. Did anyone start intersections and road grading? Or road grading at least in your corridors? Alignments, profiles, yeah, all right, excellent, very good. Very good, that, will keep you going. Today's class is really building on that. I wanna talk about your intersections. And if I can't get this onto another license, I'm gonna have to draw diagrams, and you know how my artwork is, but I'll do my best. So just give me 1 minute to try to log out of this.
We don't have an intersection, so I think we're good.
See if I can log in.
We don't have an intersection.